Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another special video. And today we're going to be talking just very briefly about internet censorship and what's going on astrologically to cause the flood of internet censorship that we're seeing right now in this moment. And the reason that I decided to do this video, it was kind of like an impromptu thing. I've been speaking a little bit about this with Saturn and Aquarius. The first time I really talked about this, I think, publicly was with Robert Phoenix in December when we talked about our year ahead forecast and the mundane astrology. But in my Saturn in Aquarius video and in some of my other videos and in the webinar I did with Robert, we spoke about this a little bit here and there as well. Because Saturn moving into the sign of Aquarius, Aquarius is the internet and technology and the way that we share information on a group level. And, Saturn is limitations, restrictions. And so it was pretty straightforward and pretty apparent that the censorship we were already seeing, especially when it comes to all things rebellious or alternative to the mainstream, also Aquarius, that the censorship would be ramped up. And so the reason that I decided to do this video was that over the weekend, I noticed on YouTube, which is my main platform where I, share a lot of my work and information. And, I try to give you guys guidance every week using the astrology and all of that. I noticed that my watch later list, which is like a playlist that I created, or I think they just give you that playlist, but every time I see a video I want to watch that I don't have time for in that moment, I put it on the watch later list. And then later when I'm folding my laundry or making dinner or whatever it is, I'll go to that list and pick out a video. And so on Sunday night, I went to that list to pick out a video, and I noticed that out of 40 videos that I had on that list, about 12 of them were missing. And so most notably over the weekend, David Icke's channel was deleted, which is a huge channel. And obviously, he delves into the realms of conspiracy and things that are very alternative to the mainstream narrative. And so his channel was deleted. And so a couple of videos might have been from there, but not all of them. So I'm looking at this like, what the heck is going on, right? And a lot of people, when I posted this on my Instagram, they asked me like, what types of videos am I watching that these are all deleted? And, most of the videos that I watch are definitely not considered mainstream. They're all, astrology, alternative health, especially some, conspiracy types of videos, things about spirituality, alternative history, mind-body medicine. All of these things are what would show up on my playlist. So there's kind of a wide range there, but it's all alternative, right? It's not like, watching clips from Keeping Up with the Kardashians or whatever people are watching these days. And so, if anyone's playlists are going to be deleted in terms of things that they watch, it makes sense, right? That a lot of these videos are missing now because of what they're censoring. And so I've been trying to piece together what's gone missing, and a few things have come up. Of course, they have announced on YouTube that they're censoring all things that are alternative to the narrative being delivered by the World Health Organization when it comes to the coronavirus. Now, I didn't have a bunch of coronavirus videos on my watch list. Maybe there was one, but probably not even, because I'm not really delving into that too much. And so, so they're actively deleting that. And one of the things I did notice is that my good friend Raphael from Radiant Reality actually had a video deleted where he talked about the coronavirus. And he didn't say anything that was opposing or contradicting what the World Health Organization says about the coronavirus. He wasn't saying, let's all, break quarantine and go outside and let's just like hold hands and like lick each other or something crazy like that. Literally what he said in the video was, hey, let's calm down. Let's be kind to each other. Stop hoarding toilet paper, eat some vegetables. That was pretty much it. Like pretty standard, straightforward, common sense things. And his video was taken down. And so that was kind of strange to me. And, a lot of videos with similar sentiments, especially if the coronavirus was involved, have been taken down. But even things that are alternative in terms of like, traditional medicine and alternative healing and things like that have been censored a lot more lately. And, the conspiracy types of things have been censored a lot more lately. And this is only the beginning. And so my point being that astrologically speaking, what's going on right now is not only Saturn is moving into Aquarius, or Saturn is in Aquarius, Saturn is actually about to station next weekend, and it's at its closest point to the square with Uranus that it will be in until it actually comes into that exact square next year in 2021. And we're going to have a Saturn-Uranus square all year long. Uranus, again, is rebellion. It's the sharing of information using technology. It has to do with the internet. And again, all things alternative to the mainstream. Saturn is not only in Aquarius, but it's squaring the ruler of Aquarius. And that's going to be going on all through 2021, and even into 2022, we'll see some of that energy. And so what I've been saying is that this time period, especially with Mars coming into Aquarius and activating Saturn, which it's still there, it's not in that exact conjunction, but it's in a sign-based aspect, and it was squaring Uranus as well over the past couple of weeks. And what I've been saying is that this is going to show us, not just on a personal level, because it's showing us on a personal level what this Saturn and Aquarius energy is going to bring, especially with that square and especially next year, but on a collective level. What we're seeing right now is a small taste of what's to come when it comes to that Saturn square to Uranus and that Saturn and Aquarius energy. And so paying attention to this is important, because the types of things that are being censored, they're going to be censored way more next year. And these sort of more mainstream platforms that have the monopoly right now on the sharing of information are going to be cracking down on anything that's alternative to the mainstream narrative. And I think that's only going to increase. One of the things that I have been concerned about with this is that, astrology might come under attack, because astrology is ruled by Aquarius. And so Saturn and Aquarius can be limitations, restrictions, censorship, or maybe even rules and regulations imposed on astrology. Anything that's again, alternative to the mainstream, even something like astrology could be censored, or it could be forced to adhere to certain rules and regulations and standards that weren't there in place before. And one of the things I love about astrology is the freedom, that we have as astrologers. There is a downside to being in an unregulated field, of course. And that downside is that, anyone can just call themselves an astrologer even when they don't know what they're doing. But usually, because we have such a strong community, when people are doing that and are just spewing nonsense and doing things that are harmful to their clients, it usually comes out pretty quickly, and that gets shut down real fast. So we have our own little, it's self-correcting, it seems. And what it does, though, is it gives us a lot of freedom to experiment and to work with our clients in the best ways that we know how, using the information and the tools that we have, regardless of what other people are doing. And I love that about astrology. It's really liberating in that way. And that's one of my favorite things about this field. And so, I'd hate to see that squashed for reasons that, are maybe more politically driven than anything else. But so those are some of the things that we're going to see coming, and the internet censorship is still happening. And so that is what's happening on the one hand, right? We have Saturn in Aquarius coming into this square with Uranus and Taurus. This is bringing up a lot of different issues, not just censorship on the internet, but this is what the focus of this video is. And we're seeing the beginning stages right here and now. Like, this is the taste of what's to come, and it's only going to increase next year. So that being said, what can we do about it? Well, the plus side of this is that this is happening to correspond with the energy of the North Node moving into Gemini. And what's interesting about that is that anytime you have the planets, the outer planets or the nodes shifting from one side to another, or from one sign to another, I should say, not side, you start to see, even before that shift happens, it's like that bridge at that 29th degree, you start to see a little bit about what's to come with the energy of the planetary transit through that sign, or the nodal transit through that sign. And so, last time we had the North Node in Gemini, and the North Node is kind of what we're moving into. It's a brand new direction. It's something as a collective we haven't experienced, but that feels really exciting and new to us, and that can be a little bit controversial and a little shaky. And so last time we had this energy was shortly after 9/11. And so I talked about, the way that travel changed, which is a Gemini Sagittarius type of thing, because we have the North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is international travel. Gemini is more local travel. And we had obviously like a decline in airline travel and a restructuring of the system of like flying and the security systems, especially in the United States. That was a whole big thing, right? And but on the opposite end of this, the other thing that happened around this time was that blogging, which is like independent people sharing and communicating their thoughts, their ideas, their research, the things that they care about, that exploded during the time period that the North Node was in Gemini. And so we had this new craze here. Blogging was already a thing, but it didn't become like widely popular until around that time period, 2001 to 2004, and like right in between there, we had the nodes for the most part during that time frame where we had the North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius. And so this was the new way that we could connect and share ideas that we didn't have prior to this time period. The other thing that happened around that time, because of what happened with 9/11, was, the alternative media became a little bit bigger. Not only were people sharing their opinions and these blogs and these alternative ideas were being shared more freely, but the alternative media started to flourish a little bit more. And this whole sort of conspiracy theory thing started to circulate a little bit more. Mainly, in my opinion, because with 9/11, a lot of people, even in the mainstream, started to question the official narrative because we had this tragic event. And the reaction to that was that the United States started to, invade and interfere with other countries that really had nothing to do with 9/11. And so people started to really question what they were being told more so than ever. And so that was the beginning of like the uprising of the alternative media as well. And so we had blogging, we had alternative like news and alternative media, and people on an independent level sharing, bits and pieces of information through their blogs, and it became a lot easier to do that. Nowadays, it's not as easy to do that because social media has become absolutely enormous. It's become this like monstrosity where it's we have a few different companies. We have YouTube, which is also with Google. They're one thing now. We have Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all of these social media outlets that have a monopoly on the sharing of information. Like, where do you find videos if you're not using YouTube or Vimeo? Like, how do you upload your videos? How do you share your content in a way that's affordable and that's going to reach a lot of people so you get the most bang for your buck or the most bang for the time that you're putting in? YouTube's the way to go, and YouTube so far has been a really great platform where even if they have been demonetizing people, they haven't been stopping information from being shared overtly in the way that they are now. I think they're going to continue doing this, and so that's just something to be mindful of. And so what can we do here with the North Node in Gemini? That's kind of what I'm getting to. The North Node in Gemini is looking to things that are new, that are alternative, that are a little controversial, that are different. Right? It's a new direction that we're moving into as a society when it comes to the way that we communicate with others, the way that we form community, and the way that we share information. I mean, Gemini is very straightforward. It's ideas, it's communication. And so new and exciting ways to do this, right? And so I think the best thing that we can do right now is start to, first off, think about ways that we can collaborate outside of the mainstream media and outside of the mainstream social platforms that are, really prevalent right now. And that's a little hard to do, right? And if you have like a website or a business, like how do you get traffic if you're not on Google, right? Like that's a big deal. So we need to start thinking about alternative ways that we can find information and share our information so that way these alternative platforms are supported by just putting yourself on there, even if it's not your main way of getting traffic to your website, putting yourself on, some of these alternative search engines, even if it's not your main way of sharing your videos, getting yourself onto these alternative platforms, which do exist. Some of them are a little dicey. I have my videos always cross-posted to Library and BitChute. BitChute is a weird place, you guys. I don't know how long that one's gonna last. There's like a lot of very I'm not going to get into it, but there's some stuff on there that's, you know, not so great. But it's another sort of backup plan, right? You have these other places where you can at least have your videos there. But there are alternative media outlets that you can support. And the issue with these alternative media outlets and these alternative platforms are that they cost a lot of money. Like, as an individual person, it's not possible for me, unless I do like some crazy crowdsourcing to, or crowdfunding, to create my own, you know, server or whatever it is that I would need to do to host my own videos and to have videos independent from all of these different systems. But there are people who are working on doing this. And so the biggest thing is supporting them. Sometimes these are a little bit costlier than, you know, Netflix or something like that. But that's because these are small businesses, these are small platforms, and it costs a lot of money to build and create something like this and to run it and maintain it. And so I understand why that would be. And so, you know, looking to the alternatives that are already there are a lot that are being developed or that are already in place. And it's kind of coincidental. I didn't plan it this way, obviously, for YouTube to take a bunch of videos down this weekend, and for this to happen on Monday. I actually didn't choose the date for this launch of this series, but I have a series that I did with a alternative media platform called Ickonic. And, you know, Ickonic was created by Jamie Icke, who is David Icke's son. And, you know, they came out and they filmed this in my hometown and or in my town that I live in, and we did a whole series about astrology, really breaking things down and looking at what astrology is, what it isn't, how it's used, different techniques, all of that. And so that's available on Ickonic Media Network, and they have a lot of really incredible content already in place. And so if that's something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend checking it out. The link is in the description below, and you can get a free 7-day trial and just kind of see what's there. And then if you don't like it, you know, move on to a different platform. But this video is not just to advertise my series. It's crazy though. It was interesting to me. Like this weekend, it was like a verification. It's like, wow, a lot of my friends and a lot of the channels that I support are just all of a sudden being, you know, censored and taken down. And I am supporting this alternative platform that I believe in by giving them my content. Like, I've given it to them. I'm not getting paid for telling you about this or anything like that. You know, it's all on them now. So basically, the main thing is support these alternative platforms if you like them. You know, donate to Patreon or to whatever creators that you really like and you really enjoy, because these people take a lot of time and money and effort to sort of put things out there, especially if they're doing things in a way that's a little bit fancier technologically, not like how I do it. I wasn't aiming to be a YouTuber and to create a bunch of content. I'll eventually have a better setup, just, you know, because you guys are so awesome and have been supporting my work. But yeah, there are a lot of people that are creating a lot of really wonderful things. And so thinking about ways that we can collaborate together on a more grassroots level to create alternatives. And I think there's going to be a lot of alternatives sprouting over the course of the next 18 months with the North Node in Gemini, like a lot. Like, there's going to be a lot to sift through. Some of them will be great. Some of them will be not so good. And so obviously discernment is important here, because when we think about Gemini, there's like 2 or 10 sides to everything. And so we might get some stuff that's not so good, and some information that's not so good. There's going to be a lot of duality when it comes to the information that we take in and the information that's being put out there. And I think there's going to be a wide range of ideas about any given topic, and it's already really hard to figure out what's true and what's not. And so I think that's only going to increase. However, the plus side to this is that there are going to be a lot of sources of information that weren't there before. One of the other things that I talked about with Robert Phoenix was the idea of the internet maybe going down. I think that still is a possibility, but I don't know that that's a censorship thing necessarily, but it could be. And so one of the things that Robert and I talked about off camera before we did our last webinar together was this idea of the internet being taken down to be replaced with a different version of the internet. That's Robert's thought there. I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't. I'm usually more optimistic about these things. I think it's going to be more censorship and people rebelling against that and creating their own platforms. But if it does, we need to have alternatives already in place. Like, how can you communicate and share the information that you want to share about alternative health, about traditional medicine, about astrology, about, you know, your thoughts and beliefs or alternative beliefs that are questioning the mainstream narrative if we maybe don't have the internet, or if websites are completely being taken down or something like that. So I think there's going to be developments there. I think that there's going to be an uprising in alternatives, and I think that that's going to be kind of the way that we navigate this or get out of this situation. And so, you know, let's all be a part of that. That's basically the message here. Support these things in any way that you can, even if that's just watching videos, you know, on a different platform, or using a different search engine, or, you know, donating a little bit of money to a platform that you really believe in. Or if you don't have the money to do that, just, you know, supporting things in any way that you can, just by being there, by showing up, by viewing their content, subscribing to their newsletters, whatever it is, because, you know, I think there's a lot of good things that are going to come out of this. So I'm excited to see what develops. All right, so that's basically my video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and share it with your friends if you feel like this information might be useful to them in some way. And if you're somebody who's already working on developing some sort of alternative platform, or alternative ways of sharing information, that you're ahead of the curve. So I think you're going to do really well during this North Node in Gemini energy. So thank you guys so much again, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.